dynamic models that required for process control. I remember the second day Tom's arrival. He came to my office and he gave me a research plan. He said that we're going to do model-based control. Bam, bam, bam. This is something we need to do in the first year and second year. I looked at that and said, great. There's only a problem here is there were no dynamic models available in literature. So we had to develop those models. So I think he started to work on that. And these models we need for process monitoring and control are not as detailed as some of the models Chris just mentioned, that particularly not spatially as detailed as that. But we need the most models need to be reasonably simple that we can use the models to do real-time control. The control system needs to calculate the control actions in real time and needs to capture the dynamics of the process. So we looked at the, instead of the very detailed models, the things like the dynamic flow models. I think Stephen contributed to that, he's here as well. That, so we look at, for example, the cells and that in the flow directions that we divided the cell into a number of zones, and in each zone we assume that the concentrations of the vanadium ions to be uniformly distributed, for example, so simplify the model so that these models can be used in dynamic control. We look at the modeling the reaction and the side reactions and ion diffusion during the charging, discharging, and standby. In that time we have self-discharge. And we look at also the online, the state of charge imbalancing monitoring and a procedure that to be conducted to determine the membrane permeability. So you could do for any systems, you can follow that procedure and get the parameters for the membrane permeabilities, and then can use the models to predict or to estimate online for state of charge imbalance. And to be able to connect the battery systems to the inverters, then we also need to look at the shunt current models. Always also contributed to that. And we also look at the impedance, battery impedance during charging discharge, not the small voltage, but the large current. And this is some results we've seen over there, and it's quite interesting if you look at this bottom. I'm not too sure there, but anyway, you can see that there's a bottom diagram over there. It shows the impedance of the battery at different frequencies. I'm sorry about the unit, we use a decibel, which is probably not the best here, but it basically shows at high frequencies around about 3 kilohertz or 4 kilohertz. The battery impedance is actually about one third of the impedance at low frequencies, and showing that flow batteries can be very good in terms of responding fast charging and discharging current. So the current can vary very fast for, the applications like frequency control. That's one of the interesting results we got. And we also been working on some of the electrical safety issues and electrical safety analysis if we have the electrolyte lead. We work on the thermal modeling for the batteries, particularly during the charging, discharging, and also standby. And I'm not sure whether Dr. Itao's here, but we worked on the multi-cell stacks, the heat generation in the cells, and also the temperature profile at different cells in a stack. So where you can see that this is the, it's not just working, but this diagram shows that we have different cells in a stack and the temperature distribution during the self-discharging and standby. And recently we worked on the containerized flow batteries, look at the thermal modeling and use that model to do the design options, to analyze the design options for different operating environments looking at the options that we need, the passive, active cooling, heating, or insulation. We work on the battery control, and as Maria mentioned, that if you want to work in a large range of the state of charge, from 5% to 95%, then the control problem becomes critical. And it's getting even more interesting when we have time varying power input and power output. In that case, the optimal control operation of the batteries to improve the energy efficiency and the battery health becomes the important issue. Now, for battery control, to deal with uncertainties in the model, we know that we develop models, but there's no perfect models. So you have to deal with model uncertainties, and also we have uncertain operating conditions. For example, charging, discharging current in a commercial operating conditions may vary, and they may be uncertain. So we need to develop some model-based feedback control. We look at doing this kind of the advanced control algorithms based on the dynamic model of the batteries to take into account the concentration over potential, the capacity loss, the electrolyte imbalance, and also avoiding the gas interactions. That when we extend the operating conditions over a large state of charge range, then the process dynamics becomes more nonlinear. I remember the day Stephen came to my office. He was looking at the optimal flow rate control for the vanadium flow batteries over a large range. He said, "Oh no, the PID control did not work." I said, "Fantastic, then we can try some nonlinear control strategies." So we worked on the gain scheduling control, and later on we worked on something called linear parameter varying theory on the control of the flow rate of the batteries when we have time varying charging, discharging current, and dealing with the model uncertainties we have. Now, we also looked at the real-time optimal control to optimize economic benefit of battery operations based on the state of charge, the predicted future energy generation, consumption, and electricity price. And one of the examples is power arbitrage. So if you have a predicted electricity price into the future 24 hours, then how we operate the battery charging and discharging to maximize the economic benefit. So there's two issues here. One is that you need to be able to plan ahead, because if you know that in 8 hours time that the electricity price will be very, very low or even negative, and the current state of charge is high, then you need to make a decision whether I discharge the battery to leave the room for charging with low price. The second problem we have is that the prediction of the electricity price is never accurate. So you have to deal with uncertainty. So what we do here is to use something called economic model predictor control. We do the optimization over something we call the receding horizon. So at this time, we optimize for the next 24 hours and implement the control action the first time point. And after 15 minutes, if we receive the updated predicted price prediction, and then we do the optimization all over again. So this is called receding horizon. You plan for the entire 24 hours, but only implement the first step. Then obviously there will be other issues associated with that, is that if we optimize for the next 24 hours, then the complexity of this optimization can be very significant. So we found a way to deal with that. We introduced something called multi-time scale optimization, so that it can be implemented in real time. And what you show over there, the first figure shows that the spot price, which is the blue curve, and the charging, discharging power or current is the red curve showing there. And the second diagram shows the state of charge operating during that period of time. And we also looked at the integration of the batteries to the battery integration and coordination issues. We're looking at that we have the number of battery systems installed, geographically distributed, and so how those battery systems coordinate with each other. And one of the things we're looking at is that those systems need to be controlled autonomously. So each battery is controlled by itself rather than controlled centrally. Central control systems have a number of problems. Number one is that you may have poor fault tolerance. If something goes wrong with the central controller or the communication network, then you have a problem. The second issue is if you have large implementation or deployment of the battery systems, then the chance is different battery systems may have different owners. So it's really hard for you to have a central controller and ask the batteries owned by different owners, and then you have to do this, you have to do that, because they would like their battery system to operate to maximize their own economic benefit. We call it self-interest optimization. Now, one of the issues we have to deal with, if every battery is operating that way, then it's like the stock market. If they do something like the power arbitrage, and then it may lead to the instability of the grid, particularly the microgrid. Okay. Yes. So we need to improve the stability of the grid. We introduce something called the distributed economic model of control. We have the power flow control for the grid operations. I think Dr. Zhang is here, so he worked on this topic, and we looked at the way how we coordinate different battery systems, and also we introduced something like a market for the microgrid, and the pricing, the mechanisms that not only allow the future the generation and the consumption to be predicted and use it using some kind of receding horizon basis, the estimation, and that can be implemented so that while each battery subsystems maximize their economic benefit, then we maintain the stability of the network. That we also been working on integration of the battery systems with the industrial scale demand side power management. So one of the applications would be with aluminum smelters, because they use huge amount of the electricity. So it's not really possible that we could provide the energy for the smelters just based on use battery systems. So we need to look at whether we can ramp up and ramp down the consumption of the process as well. And we also, currently we're working with dealing with different energy storage systems and role in the network. Okay, I think time is up. I should probably going to wrap up. So here also would like to acknowledge that the funding support we've got from North Harbour Clean Energy, Rio Tinto, the Australian Research Council, and also the ARC Research Hub for Integrated Energy Storage Solutions, and also the Tri-Blade program. So, okay. Thank you.